can see that there are so many different kinds of
Exactly.
activists and advocates and activists. So
Yeah.
as we go through today's episode, we will learn more about how one can become an advocate and activist in their own lives, in their own ways.
Exactly. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a lawyer to be an
Yes.
activist.
Anyone can be an activist is what we're going to talk about today. Okay, with that, we will go to our first segment, ang ating Chika Likasan, where we talk about ano yan, yung mga napapanahon at maiinit na issues of the day.
Mainit is right. I
Mainit
am
talaga.
because.
Ano ba yung topic natin for Chika Likasan today, Jo?
Oo, okay. So yung breaking news natin this week
We have breaking
on
news.
is on climate change. So that's actually our next two episodes. But this
Kataon
week,
na
oo nga.
Our upcoming episodes are actually gonna be about climate change, and we will be having climate advocates for our next two episodes. Pero may breaking news tayo today.
Oo. So, ang sabi ng Secretary of Foreign Affairs natin, si Secretary Locsin, we will no longer be participating actively in the climate change talks. Yes, so nag-tweet siya this week.
Yeah, so actually, bilang environmental lawyers and
Yes.
people involved in these issues, madaming nagpadala sa amin ng mga articles and the
Exactly.
tweets. A lot of our friends and colleagues brought it to our attention na that there was this pronouncement from Secretary Locsin, and I think it is based actually on another statement made by President
President.
Duterte
Yes.
about parang the usefulness and the effectivity of participating in climate change negotiations. Ayan. So we have a few thoughts.
Opinions?
We have a few thoughts, and I think yeah, for me personally, this is quite close to my heart because this is actually an area, so yung United Nations Climate Change Convention and the negotiations associated with them is something I've been participating in for the last 9 years.
Exactly.
So since 2011. So of course, these statements from our government officials, meron siyang impact on our work, but also it's very close to my heart because I've seen the value of
Exactly.
attending these talks over the years.
So you were part of the Philippine delegation at some point, diba? Aya?
Yes, actually,
Yes.
I've been part of the Philippine delegation since I started going to the negotiations in 2011 as advisor. Kasi hindi naman ako government official. So, of course,
Oo.
the government representatives lead the delegation. But the one of the unique aspects of the Philippine delegation in the climate negotiations is they're quite open to non-government support. So we are part of the delegation as advisors, as technical team, and assisting the government reps in their work. in the
Exactly.
negotiations.
So having been there for the last 9 years,
It's been a while.
if we're not there this year, what would happen to the Philippine positions?
Yes.
Or-
Okay. So,
Yeah.
kasi just to go a little bit back to what Secretary Locsin said in his tweets.
Oo.
And I think he has a point naman that traveling, going to these conferences, they're international conferences, they're very
nga.
big. A lot of
Nag-follow-up
countries
tweets
are
pala
involved.
siya.
Oo,
Oo.
nag-follow-up tweets siya. And he was saying that it does take a lot of may carbon emissions involved obviously
Oo,
in flying. So
exactly.
meron ding parang you're talking about climate change and yet everyone is flying and emitting so much just to get to the conferences, and I understand that, and the more we can parang improve that sort of aspect of it, the better. But especially for these types of conferences, because they are negotiations. So, as with any negotiation, diba, business dealings,
Yun nga.
kung
Oo.
kailangan mo makipag-bargain and protect your interests, the best way to do it is really to be present in the room.
Yeah, physically.
Physically present, because in these conferences, it's not like you sit and listen to someone
nga,
talk
yes.
and then you vote. So it's not
Exactly.
a voting sort of arrangement. It's actually we talk to other countries and we talk about the future of the world in terms of the climate. What is everyone responsible for? What are the commitments of countries, especially developed countries? What do developing and vulnerable countries need? So, sa Pilipinas especially, we are one of the most climate and disaster vulnerable countries in the world. So we have
We
so
have to
much
be there.
at stake.
Oo.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have so much at stake that the discussion of who should be there, how many, etc. That can be discussed. But in terms of being present in the room, I really think that that's non-negotiable, so to speak. Na we cannot just do it from our home or through the internet.
Oo
It's
nga.
really I think it will really be to our disadvantage because it's not just the big rooms. It's a big conference tapos maraming small talks na nangyayari in the hallways.
Oo nga, yung mga huddles, yung
Huddles,
mga,
exactly.
yeah,
In the back room.
background. Yeah,
Oo,
exactly.
parang and not all the discussions happen formally. A lot happens sa mga
Exactly,
usap tayo.
informal, oo.
Head of state to head of state, negotiator to negotiator. So it's really I think near impossible to protect Philippine interests in this kind of process if we are not there physically. So,
Tapos,
yes.
ano 'di ba, yung mga even countries na nag-withdraw na, gusto nga nilang pumunta pa rin to observe.
Exactly.
So, what more the countries that have a stake in it, like us, na parang, we're a least developing country. And we can, instead of doing this, we can just have a smaller delegation, or we
there
can
are
just
ways
send,
to manage
yun
the
nga eh.
delegation.
Oo.
And I think I think yung hindi alam ng karamihan, the Philippines has actually been very, very active and very influential in this process for, I don't know, 2 decades now.
Exactly.
We help the developing countries protect our interests. For example, demanding for more finance and more commitment from developed countries. We fight for human rights, indigenous people's rights. We were one of the countries that insisted on a lower global temperature goal of 1.5 degrees in the Paris Agreement, and so on and so forth. We have been a leader in this process. So really, the efforts, I don't think they have been wasted. And
Exactly.
we shouldn't parang let all the good work we have done go to waste. Kung yung concern lang naman is, I don't know, parang masyadong madaming tao, we can manage that, but we have to be in the room, I think.
So, to our audience, what are your thoughts? Ano ba yung pabor ba kayo sa sinasabi ni Secretary Locsin na dapat wala na tayo sa climate change talks physically? You can comment on our live stream right
Yes.
now.
And yes, or baka may alternatives kayong masuggest na considering the concerns raised by the President and by Secretary Locsin, what are your suggestions? How do you think the government can still effectively participate but maybe, I don't know, lessen the resources needed to go to these conferences?
But on a lighter note,
I got a little emotional.
Naging passionate tayo dyan.
Yes.
But on a lighter note, we have, semi-good news. What happened to our mango production since we had a long El Nino spell? So we have a surplus of mangoes right now, about 2 million kilos.
Oh, wow.
Yun nga, ang dami.
Okay.
I can eat that. Joke.
Yes.
So oversupply means cheaper mangoes according to the Department of Agriculture.
Oo, may surplus tayo.
Oo,
Yes.
ayan. Good side
Ayan.
ng El Nino pa lang mga mangga.
Oo, parang napahaba niya yung summer. Pa-intensify niya yung productivity ng mango growth dahil sa weather.
Oo, kasi because mangoes grow in humid weather and it requires a stimulus of the dry season to fruit
Ayan.
abundantly. Ayun, we had a lot of the
So
dry
we have
season.
something to thank El Nino for.
Oo.
And not only yan, makaka-enjoy tayo ng mas marami pang mangga for longer, we are also, if we buy the surplus, we are also helping the farmers. Na syempre, we don't want this to go to waste, and the effort that they put in to grow the mangoes, and syempre, food waste, di ba? We have been talking about avoiding food waste. So ano bang mga pwede nilang gawin for with the mangoes? Anong options?
Tita tips na tayo
Tita tips.
sa mangoes. Pero yun, make mango floats.
Oh my gosh.
Mango jam.
Ang sarap.
Oo, preserve mangoes.
Burong mangga.
Oo.
OMG. Tumatagal
Mango
yan.
milkshake daw. Sabi ng isang viewer natin.
Isang viewer, mango milkshake. Oo. Ang daming options sa mangoes, and it keeps well if you preserve it a certain way. So, kahit na hanggang tag-ulan, magagamit pa natin yung mga surplus mangoes na yan.
So, on that note, we'll be taking a break soon. But before that, we'll be we'll be telling you about our next segment, yung Earthwise. We have who today?
Yes, for Earthwise, we are going to have our guest today will be AG Sanyo. I think maybe
Maybe a lot of you
of
know
people.
him.
Yeah,
Oo.
he's kind of famous. He's
Kilala siya dito.
yes, he's
Environmental
an
activist.
environmental activist and artist. So we'll get into what he has been doing a little bit more after the gap, and then we'll talk about his efforts and about environmental activism, diba? And how people can become one themselves.
Oo. So, when we return, marami pa tayong tatalakayin tungkol sa environmental activism. Magbabalik po ang tayo-tayo sa 1PH makalipas ng ilang paalala.
Singin na ang katawan, kalumpagin ng isipan, natatanaw na hustisya, hinihintay ka na. Kaliwat kanan, mabilis o dahan-dahan, mag-isa o may kasama, kapatid, kumilos na. Tayo, iyo-yo, oh, tayo, iyo-yo. 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 Usad, lakad, tara na, tara na. Tayo na. Usad, lakad, tara na. Tayo na. Tayo, iyo-yo, oh, tayo, iyo. 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 Tayo. Tayo. Ilat ang mga mata, ilakad ang mga paa, natatanaw na pag-asa, hindi.
Welcome back! Oras na para sa Earthwise, kung saan nag-iimbita kami ng mga taong nagsisikap na gumawa ng pagbabago para sa kalikasan. Who are we learning from today, Aya?
Yes, I'm very excited about today's guest. I feel like I know him kahit today lang kami nagkakilala because of, I know about his work and a lot of our common friends and people in the environmental movement. Marami kaming common colleagues and other activists. So our guest today is AG Sanyo. Isa siyang muralist, conservationist, photographer, landscape architect, and environmental activist. So lahat-lahat na. Isa siyang renaissance man pagdating sa envi activism. Good morning, AG.
Good morning.
Magandang umaga
Thank you
po.
for joining us
Nakalimutan
today.
pong sabihin na marunong din po ako magmasahe.
Ay,
oh
isa
my
pa
God.
yun.
Yan nata yung pinaka-important na skill. Ang dami. Okay, thank you for joining us. We know you're very busy and nabanggit mo just a few minutes ago na wala ka pang tulog.
Oh, no. Oo.
Salamat sa pagbigay ng oras para dumating dito sa tayo-tayo.
Salamat din. Ayun, magandang umaga sa lahat.
Good morning.
Ayun. So, our first question for you
Hey, game.
Dave.
is, how did you start advocating for the environment?
Hey, mahabang kwento. No? Nung
Okay lang.
grade 3 ako. Yan, yung kuya kasi namin panganay, who was 2 years older than me, sobrang, nerd. Sobrang hilig niya sa mga scientific experiments. So, pag summer, instead na naglalaro kami sa labas with other kids, kasama namin ng kuya namin panganay, gumagawa ng mga scientific experiments.
Okay.
Yung tinatry namin i-prove yung perpetual motion, yung mga gano'n.
That
Yan.
kind of nerdiness.
Yes.
Okay.
Tapos sobrang...
Sa grade 5? Grade 5 lang
Oh,
siya?
grade 5 siya. Ako grade 3. yung isang kuya ko si Yeb. Ganun din na nauto din ng kuya na yung panganay. Ayan. So, habang lumalaki kami, madalas kaming pinapasyal ng parents namin sa outdoors, especially ang sa Los Baños. Yan. Halos every weekend, pinapasyal kami sa outdoors. Kahit ayaw namin. Kahit marami kaming assignments sa school, tigil niyo yan, pasyal tayo. So, outdoors, yung exposure. Tapos nung, I remember nasa UP pa ako, nag-aaral pa ako, yung kuya ko naman na si Yeb, first job niya was in WWF Philippines. Yan. So, nag-volunteer ako sa opisina nun. That was, I think, 1997. Bubuhat ng mga gamit, pag naglilipat, kung ano-anong mga bagay. So, doon ako na-expose. Una-una sa mga sobrang significant na tao sa environmental movement sa Pilipinas. Di ko naman alam na sobrang sila, gagaling na
Big time
tao.
pala.
Tapos yun, nakakahalubilo ko sila. So parang easily na pasok ako doon sa mundo na yun. Kaya pagka-graduate ko naman, naging photographer ako. While I was practicing my architecture practice, nag-photographer ako. Tapos ganun din, na-expose ako sa wildlife kasi nag-volunteer naman ako sa WWF, yung mga geographic expeditions nila. Yun, tuloy-tuloy. You'd grow to love Mother Nature as you spend time with her.
So how do you use your talent or yun yung profession mo as an architect or as a muralist to forward environmental advocacy?
As an architect, we had this parang Biblia na libro na tungkol sa pag-design with nature. So we don't impose anything on nature. Instead, we design around it and with it. No? So, nag-stick din sa isip ko yun as a young architect. Even when I was still studying. Kasi na-introduce sa amin yun na first year pa lang. Tapos I had this professor na sobrang naging ka-close ko. He actually is a national artist for architecture, IP Santos. So right after graduation, diretso ako sa office niya. So tuloy-tuloy yung ganong klaseng mindset pagdating sa design. Yan. Tapos sa photography naman, like I said, yung I use my skills as a photographer to expose. Dati ginagawa ko, shoot ako ng mga sharks finning on my own, parang sarili kong investigative work.
Right.
Parang undercover, kunwari turista ako. Nag-shoot ako ng sharks finning sa extreme north and south of the Philippines. Tapos pinalabas ko sa mga publications.
Parang yung napapansin ko na ang daming, parang yung avenue of how you got into it. Marami siyang factors from your childhood, from the people who influenced you, pero ikaw din yung nag-decide na, sige, ito yung mga alam ko, ito yung interests ko, ganito ko gagamitin para makatulong sa kalikasan. Parang you found your own, or forged your own path then, in a way.
Yes, but at the same time, i-credit ko rin yun dun sa yung exposure na parang by default. And because of that, parang ang dali rin mag-respond sa call ni Mother Nature. Like for example, nung I also worked as a photographer sa US before and sa Europe. Tapos I found out about the dolphin slaughters in Japan. And because of that, I decided to quit my work as a high-paying photographer abroad para bumalik sa conservation work sa Pilipinas. And it was an easy decision kasi I knew what had to be done.
Parang what was at stake.
What's at stake pagka hindi ginampanan yung dapat.
Actually, yung mga murals mo nga, I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners would have seen one or more of your work.
Nag-flash siya on screen
showing
kanina.
it on screen. And they're very, very, I think, recognizable. No? Pag nakikita ko, parang, oy, gawa yan ni
Pag may dolphins.
dolphins, tsaka pati yung style mo. I think it's very clear. It communicates really well, very eye-catching, and parang maka-curious ka na, ano to, bakit may painting dito ng mga dolphins or other marine life, wildlife. What gave you the idea to, na parang, okay, I will paint on walls to raise awareness, or kung ano yung purpose mo for doing that?
Actually, after watching this movie called The Cove, yung nag-expose ng dolphin slaughter sa Japan. Right after watching it, parang I was in grief. Kasi I've been studying dolphins for 10 years na that time when I saw the movie. Parang instinct naman sa akin to paint something. para express ko yung grief ko. Kasi feeling ko, sabog yung ulo ko kung wala akong gagawin that time. Tapos nasa isla pa kami noon. We were doing our marine mammal survey sa Babuyan Island, sa extreme north. Wala ibang gagawin kundi mag-survey. Pag walang survey, ang gagawin. So nanood kami ng movie. And we found out about that. And ang instinct ko was to find paint and some brushes. And I asked the other volunteers, yung community, to paint with me. So nag-paint kami ng isang dolphin. Plus yung other ecosystems.
Ayan.
Tapos yun na yung nagsimula nung 23,000 dolphins actually yung target namin.
Wow, nasa ilan na kayo ngayon?
Actually, we stopped counting at 35,000.
Oh, wow.
okay.
Past,
Ilang pa
past
sa
23,000.
2011. Matagal na siyang
And it
natapos.
seems like a lot of, paano ba, is it by invitation usually that you're invited to paint? Kasi parang ang dami na nila all over eh.
Noong una, walang nagre-respond sa akin. Kasi parang ang weird naman nung paint ka ng dolphin sa pader ko, di ba?
No.
So, ang ginawa ko, nag-paint ako doon sa shop nung kaibigan ko sa Maginhawa Street. Tapos, kinuha na ako ng video, ginawa ko ng time-lapse. Tapos, sinend ko sa CNN International. Parang, hindi ko alam kung anong mangyari. Sinend ko lang. Tapos, nag-respond yung isang producer and they wanted to carry the story.
Right.
Tapos, lumabas siya for 5 consecutive days, parang 5 times a day yung story sa CNN. So, that was the time na marami nang tumatawag sa akin para mag-support.
Nakakatuwa. At saka hindi lang sa meron siyang environmental awareness raising, maganda din siya.
Oo,
Parang
yun
it
din.
aesthetically improves
Yes.
the surround. Imbis na plain wall lang siya or graffiti na hindi mo naman maintindihan.
Or
Meron pa
poster.
siyang meron pa siyang message and
Yes,
nakaka-brighten siya ng surroundings.
Yes.
Meron din kaming isang nabalitaan, AG, na you were actually in Tacloban nung nangyari yung Yolanda.
Opo,
Tama
yes.
ba?
yes.
Ano yung naging experience mo doon at may effect ba yun sa naging advocacy mo after Yolanda?
Definitely nagkaroon siya kasi na-witness ko yung parang future ng mundo when it comes to the issue of climate change or the climate crisis. Parang advanced peak yun sa doon sa pwede mangyari, especially sa mga ibang bansa na sa ngayon hindi pa nakakaranas ng mga ganung occurrences, di ba, mga extreme weather events. Tapos I actually lost 3 loved ones, so 3 friends from that episode. But the most for me the parang most significant thing that happened was my brother was the head of the delegation of the
Right.
the
At
Philippines
that time.
at that time sa Climate Summit. And he was given the microphone basically to talk to the world about what's happening. And I think that time hindi pa nahanap, wala pa kami word sa mga relatives namin. Hindi ko pa sila nahanap that time nung nag-speech yung kuya ko. And I think it opened a lot of minds and hearts even doon sa issue nung climate change.
Yes. And I think just to go back very quickly to what we were talking about sa simula nung show na that was actually quite a defining moment yung kinikwento mo
Exactly.
when
The
si
Philippines.
Yeb, who was a commissioner of the Climate Change Commission at that time,
Yes.
had the platform to talk to the world basically about the plight of Filipinos currently at that time experiencing the effects of climate change and the resulting disaster.
Yes.
Just to go back to how important it is to be present at those kinds of
Right.
Iba yung
talks.
effect.
Oo.
If you're there to talk about the plight of the Philippines in due to climate change.
Yes, and lalo na parang tayo, we have so much to say. Parang kumbaga sa moral
Exactly.
authority, no? We
Oo,
have
exactly.
we are in such a important position to represent the countries and the people, communities who are experiencing those kinds
Right,
of
exactly.
tragedies.
Yes.
Ayan. Sige.
Kaya lumungkot.
Oo nga.
So, ayun, how on that note, how effective is art in sending the message across? For you, have you seen it really grow? Yeah, with
Actually, art has changed society many times.
agreed. Yeah.
Even yung course ng society had been affected greatly by iconic works of art. No? For example, yung child labor. Not a lot of people know that child labor used to be a norm. Di ba? Ngayon, ano siya sobrang tabu siya. Imposible siyang maging legal anywhere in the world na may democratic na systems. Pero child labor was outlawed because of the efforts of a visual artist, a photographer. No, nung nalaman na yung conditions ng mga pinagtatrabuhan ng maliliit na kids, he exerted a lot of effort to take pictures, to document those workplaces. And sinaturate na yung mga publications. Nagsawa na sa kanya yung mga publishers kasi talagang hindi na tinigilan until he got the attention of lawmakers. And eventually, I mean, as we speak, wala nang, I mean, there's child labor, pero that's totally illegal. And none of us three would have to go through that
Yes.
because
Because
of the
of
efforts
that,
of one
yes,
visual
right,
artist. No?
right.
Even, for example, sa US naman, before, East and West, totally separate yan. Nung di pa uso yung trend, di pa uso yung sasakyan, walang aeroplano. Pero yung meron mga iconic na oil paintings of a local western artist taga California. Nung umabot yung paintings niya sa East, nakita ng mga tao na wow, ang ganda pala nung natural features ng West. And it started yung migration from East to West of the US. Maraming bagay na change yung society. Even sa Pilipinas, I'd like to mention si Ditzy Carolino, a filmmaker lady filmmaker, napakaliit na tao. Hindi mo akalain pupuntahan niya yung mga lugar na pinupunta niya para mag-document. And sobrang instrumental yung documentary film niya about yung mga plight ng mga maliliit na kids na sa kulungan.
Yes.
And it was instrumental sa craft ng law na pagbawal ng pagsama ng mga kids sa mga hardened criminals.
Oo. It's for people to really pay attention.
So a lot of art forms can
Iba-ibang
change
art
society.
forms.
Yes.
Meron ka bang mga parang iilang challenges na masasabi mong I don't know, parang pinaka naging mabigat or mahirap in your advocacies?
Oh yes, siguro pinaka mabigat na is yung mga death threats na.
Oh,
I mean,
Nagkaroon ka na ng...
oh yes, yes.
man.
Of course, hindi mo mawala sa Pilipinas
Mm.
yan.
Oo,
I mean,
sa mga
the Philippines is number 2, I think, in environmentalist killings. No? Hindi lang threats, but killings.
Tama.
Yan, kaya lagi nandyan yan. Pero part ng decision mo to be there for your cause, di ba? May mga times na parang tinreten ka na papadampot kita pag di ka tumigil. Yung mga ganong bagay. But then, yung mga practical challenges is yung, siyempre, you'd have to give up a lot. For example, I gave up my profession. I gave up my high-paying job.
Yes.
Tapos, maraming bagay, yung oras na bibigay mo sa personal life mo, sa mga childhood dreams mo, pwedeng ma-give up yon for your causes.
Pero talagang siya, no? It's a decision you make na parang and parang I think one of the points we are trying to make for this episode is that whether it's a big decision like kunyari involving your job or your parang putting your life at risk and at stake, that is of course a very admirable kind of decision, but there are also smaller decisions from day to day that we can make that will also help, or like pwede nating tawagin yung sarili natin na advocates and activists also.
Right.
Iba-ibang
Especially now
size.
nauso yung parang nagiging trend yung pagiging environmentalist na.
Totoo.
There are negatives and positives about it. But I think dapat i-highlight dun yung positives na a lot more people are now conscious about what they do. Yung daily action. Hindi na lang daily yung hourly. Maybe moment-to-moment
Yeah,
actions.
oo.
Yung pag-reject or pag-refuse ng paggamit ng single-use plastics. Although hindi pa siya ganun kalawak, pero maingay na siya.
Oo,
Matunog na
maingay
siya.
na siya.
Naging trendy na nga siya. Ika nga.
May nabanggit din sa amin, AG, na yung may classroom project daw kayo ngayon. Na,
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, yes. Kasi meron kaming, dalawang groups kasi yung sinasalihan ko, yung classroom ng pag-asa. We used to work a lot in Mindanao, yung mga conflict areas. So pag may mga sinusunog yung Abu Sayyaf na mga schools, nagtatayo kaming bago. Tapos turuan namin ng art, photography, yung kids sa storytelling, and then they help us paint the walls of the schools para maging parang owners na rin sila ng schools. Yung isa pang classroom project naman namin sa Babuyan Island. So naglilikom kami ng donations from people from all over the world. Tapos pag naipon na yon, tatayo kami ng gusto kong tawagin na climate resilient na classrooms.
Yeah.
So may tinayo kami actually library to 5 years ago. Dumaan na siya sa I think more than 70 storms and walang damage compared do sa ibang structures dun sa island. So we think na mukhang tama yung ginawa namin.
Gandang model
Oo.
So
siya.
tuloy. In fact, kahapon lang umalis yung team para magtayo ng bagong classroom sa Babuyan Islands.
Okay.
So ano to, parang group effort.
So yun, last question na namin to because we have to go on another break. Ano yung opinion mo sa participation ng Pilipinas sa climate change talks? Is it
Okay.
something that we have to do, like we said? Or tama naman siguro si Secretary?
Meron I mean it's complicated. You can't answer it in one line or even one argument, no. May pros and cons. Ako personally, I'm not a big fan of what's
Talks.
happening there,
Right,
no?
okay, oo.
And in fairness to the president, actually pareho kami nung iniisip na ano nga ba yung nangyari? Yun ang kina-question niya. I mean, of course, hindi niya alam yung A to Z about the negotiations and
Totoo.
even about climate change. Pero I think valid yung question niya, yung challenge niya na
Valid. Oo.
after the Paris Agreement, okay, may document tayo na nagsasabi na ito yung gagawin ng buong mundo. Pero paano mapopolis yan pag hindi sinunod ng isang bansa yung commitments? Sino magsasabi na itong parusa mo? Sa ngayon kasi di ba wala pa?
Oh, yun nga. It's a
Wala
problem
pa.
sa international law.
Yes,
generally.
pero by saying wala pa, gusto ko rin sabihin na kailangan magkaroon. No?
Kailangan.
No, and I think I also believe na yung pag-attack kasi ng crisis, maraming levels. May policy level, which is yun talaga yung encompassing ng maraming bagay. No? And may individual level, yung 7 or 8 billion na tao na may gagawin every day.
Oo.
So hindi pwedeng isa lang. Kailangan magkaroon pa rin tayo ng faith dun sa negotiations. And again, in fairness to the people who are there, I mean, I've been there many times, in and out of the conference. And I've met a lot of people, hindi lang mga Pilipino. Pero I would commend the Filipino delegates. I mean, meron dyan mga, let's admit it, may mga nagda-junket dyan eh.
Yes. Oo.
Controversial to, pero may mga nagda-junket dyan. Pero sobrang hardworking ng mga tao dyan. From different sectors na pupunta. Like na-mention mo kanina, civil societies there.
Yes.
To
Exactly.
observe and even to advise. Sobrang hard work. Yung mga kakampi natin mga kapatid natin sa Pacific Islands, they're giving their life, their efforts
And
to
because also
for these
their
talks.
lives are also at stake.
Yes. And sila
Quite
actually mas
literal yung
vulnerable
impact sa
in many
kanila.
ways. Yes,
Yeah.
mas matinding impact sa kanila in the long run. And that's why they're putting their hopes in fighting it out in the negotiations. And may malaking value yung negotiations whether we like it or not, whether we're fans of it or
Totoo.
not.
And there are many ways to attack this crisis, sabi mo nga, no, na
Yes.
we can't discount one and say na ito lang.
Yes,
The
yes.
more ways we can approach it and attack it. The word is good. Attack is good, I think.
Right.
I think the
Right.
better. So we should keep exploring what the possibilities
Yes,
are.
and we should really push on having the IRR, no, yung rule book
Yung
kung
rule book,
tawagin. Kasi yun ang sasagot sa tanong and sa challenge ni President Duterte na sino bang magsasabi na anong dapat gawin sa hindi sumunod, di ba?
Tama.
So yun. So pag wala yun, pag absent tayo doon, wala tayong
Say.
stake, wala
Say
tayong say. So we need to keep on
Engaging,
participating, engaging. Sa hindi lang naman yun yung pinag-usapan, maraming mga maliliit na bagay na sa sidelines. For example,
Oo, exactly.
our officials na galing sa agriculture, nakipag-usap sa ibang mga officials ng agriculture ng ibang bansa. Human rights. Maraming side events yan na sobrang importante.
Mahalaga din talaga. Thank you so much, AJ. We
Salamat
wanna
din.
keep
Thank
talking,
you.
pero we have to go on our next break. But thank you for sharing everything you're doing, and we really wish you all the best sa lahat ng gagawin mo. At babalik ka pa ngayon, may trabaho
Yes.
ka pa,
Oo nga eh.
pintura ka pa.
Pag nakita
Walang
nila ako sa
pahinga.
kalsada, busina lang.
Busina lang. Baka makita niyo si AG mamaya, nasa Makati ka ba?
Sa Makati,
mamaya?
oo. Sige.
Thank you, AG.
Salamat din, salamat.
Abangan niyo po sa pagbabalik po ng Tayo on 1PH. We will be talking about environmental activism through photography and community empowerment. Abangan niyo po.
Tayo, tayo, iyo, yo,
Thank you.
oh, tayo, tayo, iyo, oh. Tayo, tayo, iyo, yo, oh, oh, tayo, tayo, iyo, oh. Usad, usad, usad. Lakad, lakad, lakad. Tara na, tara na, tara na. Tayo na, tayo na, tayo na. Usad, usad, usad. Lakad, lakad, lakad. Tara na, tara na, tara na.
Hello, welcome back. So, ang segment natin ngayon ay ang fact.
Hindi tayo synchronized.
Sorry.
Fact.
Fact.
Ayan, fact.
Ayan, so in this segment, we feature initiatives and people who have projects that help the environment in some way. And today we have a friend of mine, si Gabrielle Batallones,
Gabs.
who is
Hi.
a videographer, graphic artist, photographer, and marine conservationist. Right?
Hi. Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me over.
Thank you for coming.
You flatter me. Thank you for having me over.
Well, it's all very true, diba?
It's all facts.
Oo.
Ito, first question natin kay Gabs, very current. How are you trying to save the environment today? Ayan.
Wow. Well,
Tell us about your advocacy.
that's a very good question. Well, first of all, I'd like to start that there are many ways that each and every one of us can do to help out the environment. So a lot of the work I do basically deals with engaging with communities or tourists, coastal communities, with what they can do to have a more environmentally friendly, or some people might say more sustainable approach towards life in general. So, I mean, I think earlier it was mentioned that one of them is basically bringing plastic bottles. I mean, no, sorry, reusing. I mean,
Not
using. Not no. I take that back. I meant to say reusing water
Water
bottles. So in that sense, people would avoid buying new plastic bottles, which more or less will end up in our seas. So that's one of them, and another is, in a sense, maybe it would show off as in talking to local communities and, in a sense, encouraging them, but not really telling them what to do,
Right.
because a lot of these local communities, they have their own way of life already. So what I try to do is I try to show them how not using plastics or doing things in a more sustainable manner can help their local community.
Right.
So yeah.
So, engaging local communities, how did you first get into that? Kasi diba, that's, yung first entry mo into environmental activism was through
Okay. Well, it started off as well, I was fresh out of university. Can I start there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was fresh out of university, thirsting for adventure, and this adventure basically took me around the Philippines, and a lot of it involved meeting a lot of these local communities, coastal communities, who I did not know yet at that time. I'd eventually be working with and becoming
Saan
very
banda
close
yung
with.
areas na to?
Well, at the top of my mind right now would be around Zambales, La Union, and Baler. So actually, if you'd noticed, these are all
Surf
surf
communities.
spots. Yeah, surf communities.
Joyce being a surfer herself.
It's
Which is
how
where
we
we met.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah.
met through surfing.
The company of surfers.
Yes, just yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
with this also, I was surfing a lot, and with surfing, we are literally at the front line of facing the full power of nature. So a lot of
Exactly.
this involved getting into the water, and reading swells forecasts. So in a sense, we would get to know Earth in a more, I guess, personal level, because like reading swells, typhoons, it's basically how Earth breathes, really. And we would always get into the water, and we would see firsthand if the water is dirty or murky, what
Oo.
exactly is there. And sometimes we would be surfing, and there would be
With plastics.
plastic bottles
Yes.
or straws or
Oh.
all kinds of other things that I'd
Nasty
rather
things.
I've
nasty
picked up-
stuff.
I've
I
picked
know,
up some
may
things
favorite kami dyan.
in the water.
Favorite to hate, lampin.
Lampid.
Lampin.
Yun talaga.
That's also
Super
happened to
pervasive.
me.
Grabe.
And so with this, I guess it opened my eyes. And at the same moment also, I was working with some friends of mine also, who are part of this environmental NGO called Save Philippine Seas. It's actually how I met AG. I met him during one of our talks.
It's
I
a small
guess.
world.
Yeah, very small world.
Environmental.
Yeah.
We also
Advocacy.
know, the folks at Save Philippine Seas kasi syempre may mga common advocacy so sila Ana Oposa.
Yes, I'd like to say if you're watching Ana Pos, I love you. No, I'm just kidding. She is my mentor. She taught me a lot. And what I learned from her was anyone can be an environmental advocate. It's you don't have to know all of the scientific facts. You don't have to you don't have to know every fish in the sea. You just need to know in a sense like
What's harmful
what's
and
harmful
not.
for the
Yeah.
environment. Like if it doesn't belong there, maybe it shouldn't be there. So that's, I guess, one of the things. And in a sense, I guess it's more of you have to just love Earth more.
And as a videographer, photographer, diba, how have you been able to spread your own advocacy?
Okay. Well, with that also, one of my projects with Save Philippine Seas was this initiative called the Sea Grassroots Movement, which had two sides to it. One of it was promoting seagrass ecosystems and how it worked alongside coral reefs, mangroves,
Right.
and seagrass. So a lot of people know coral reefs and mangroves, but seagrass, it's taken.
Seagrass, oo.
uh,
Parang, ano yung damo? A lot of
ano lang,
people, at
actually.
saka I know a lot of people who
Kinda
don't
weed.
want to
Oo.
go in the ocean if it's seagrass. Parang sa kanila, ayaw kong maapakan, parang madilim, ganun.
Oo.
It's so unknown. Yan sabi mo nga, Gabs, na parang, tsaka medyo
Slimy.
madulas. So, but I think not a lot of people know the value of seagrass, no? So, it's one of the things you're trying to bring attention to, the
Yes,
importance of
exactly.
seagrass.
Exactly.
But it's not like you were a scientist, hindi ka naman.
Oh,
Uh,
you don't have to be.
Scientist,
That's
yeah.
the point.
You,
yeah.
you just have to be particularly curious about
Curious.
certain
Oo.
things, I guess.
And willing to learn, di ba? Kasi
Yes,
parang
yeah.
if you're curious but you're like, oh well, it's not my job. I'm not an environmentalist. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a scientist, engineer, whatever. Therefore, there's not much I can do. Like you said, anyone can get into it if they're interested enough, di ba?
Yes. And so with that though, I feel like anyone can be an environmentalist. It's more of wait, I think I already said this. So I'll go ahead with what else we're trying to do. So other projects that we're
Save
doing
the
is
Philippine
with
Seas,
Save
no?
Philippine Seas also is we would have other projects. One of them would be plastic battle. This one we actually piloted in
battle.
Siargao Island. So
Not bottle, but battle.
yes, battle. So, you can check out their Instagram at Plastic Battle. Like, does that work? Like, you can follow the link here. Does it? Oh,
No, we're live.
No, it doesn't work
It's
like that.
happening
Oh,
right
okay.
now.
We'll link everybody
Yeah.
after the
Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah.
So with Plastic Battle, it works with
Nakakatawa.
resorts and
Resorts.
hotels.
Okay.
So basically,
In
they cannot
Siargao.
sell plastic bottles. Instead, they will have water stations that they can either charge for a refill or just give a refill, and so it would lessen the plastic bottles at a certain area.
It's parang
So-
siyang challenge to the resorts and hotels.
Yes, resorts and hotels. And so what would this do is it would, in a sense, drive people, tourists, and the local community to be less dependent on plastic bottles and more on reusable containers for either food or water, beverage, whichever you might need it for. And in a sense, with that thing happening over and over again, it will change their mindset. We want to make being sustainable and being environmentally friendly the common norm in society. It shouldn't have to be something special. This is how things really should be. And with that though, it feels that they say that every generation has, something they're fighting for, maybe like war or,
Oh.
peace. I feel like our
This is the
generation,
environment, yeah.
it's for our planet, it's for the environment, and it feels more important as a Filipino also because like we are an island nation, so we are literally losing land every year because as the water level goes up,
Rises,
it's less
exactly.
land for us.
And we're in the Pacific Ring of Fire, so we're just very, very prone to disasters. Parang wala pang climate change impacts. We're already disaster prone. So
What
with,
more? Oo.
With parang nako-compound siya ng climate impact. So yes, we definitely have a lot to do.
lose.
To lose,
We have a lot
and a lot
to
to do. Yes. And I guess talking about, I don't know, like anyone can be an environmental activist, advocate. We didn't get a chance to talk about this at the start of the show, Joyce, because we had the breaking news.
Right.
But with Gabs, if you don't mind, like maybe, I'm curious, Joyce, how did you start?
Right.
Or how did you become an activist yourself? Is there a moment, or how did you realize that, hey, this is what I want to do?
Well, I don't have a story like AG's.
Yes. Iba din yung kay AG.
Mabigat yung kanya. But growing up, siguro my mom, she's a doctor, but she always pushed for projects that were environment related. So she had the Go Bike Pilipinas. So she related diabetes to exercise to the environment also, encouraging people to bike for their health but also for the environment. So it was a project that it was somewhat big. It was a big project that she had and I had to be part of that. Tapos sa sarili niyang community sa Pampanga naman, tree planting project siya. And it was just something that, and at home, nagsisegregate din siya. Siya yung talagang nagsisegregate ng trash and would teach us all of these things. And I didn't think of it, much of it when we were growing up.
You didn't say
Parang,
like, hey, my mom is an environmentalist.
Oo, yun nga eh. It's really just that exposure
Yeah.
that eventually, sabi ko, this is it's a thing. Environmentalism is a thing. So, nung nag-law school na ako, I immediately went to international environmental law as a track
Right.
in school. And I found out more about the policy side and how, as a lawyer, I can be an environmentalist.
And contribute. Tama.
Yes. Pwede palang ipagsama yung dalawa.
Oo.
But how about you, Aya?
Oh, how about me? My story is longer, not just because I'm older. But it's similar, no? It's really exposure. So, I think Niner and I talked about this a little bit on one of the earlier episodes. And for you, it's your mom. For me naman, it's my dad. I mean, both my parents. But yeah, between the two of them, my dad is really like, kami yung ina-advocatean niya at like 4 years old, 5 years old, kami ng kuya ko. He was always very insistent. Do? Parang kung yung mga, kunyari, ibang parents strict about watching TV, na only watch TV for, I don't know, an hour a day. Yung tatay ko, you cannot throw the banana peel with paper. Ganyan. And,
Yung rules sa bahay.
Oo, with water conservation, electricity, lahat. So, at a young age, parang tama ka, even if you don't identify it as this is a thing necessarily, you know that, hey, these are considerations that not a lot of other people are thinking about, but hey, I'm aware, ganon. And then when parang through the years, I was part of the Earth Club in high school. Part ako ng mga kung ano-anong online petitions, yung ganon. Parang I really wanted to be involved. And then when I started as a lawyer, I actually started more on parang human rights, women's rights, community empowerment, local governance, ganyan. But I think my heart was really in environment, and even talking to, kunyari, fishing communities or even women in communities, a lot of envi issues would come up. So for example, fishing communities, ang problem nila is fish catch, ganon. But we're talking about fisheries. But you start to realize fish catch
Connected
is
other
actually
things.
related to environmental issues. So I'm like, okay, all of these other issues are important, but at the very basic, environmental issues are a concern of everyone. So I said, okay, I want to become an envi lawyer for real. And yeah, so I shifted tracks. Ayan. So just the stories of how we all got started and are still going. Still
Right.
trying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Very interesting.
Gabs,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
back to you. But how can our audience or the public join or become environmental advocates or be part of your advocacies?
Yeah, like whether sa Save Philippine Seas, sa Seagrass Movement, or ikaw mismo as an individual advocate, can people reach out or help with the things you're doing?
Okay, well, I think first of all, one thing we can do is really just be proactive. Maybe try volunteering with other environmental NGOs. One of them, of course, is Save Philippine Seas. You can check out their website also, savephilippineseas.org, or their Instagram at SavePHCs. We have a lot of call for volunteers and projects there. One of them I previously mentioned, which was Plastic Battle. We also have other camps if you want to learn more about the environment. I think there's one coming up.
Yung
And
sea
then,
camp.
yes, the sea camp.
That's
SEA.
Acronym ba siya? Or
Uh,
it's really like the sea, the ocean?
I can't remember
Okay,
now.
so you can see
I
on
can't
the
remember now.
website.
Yes, it's all online also. And then other things we can do basically is my personal favorite actually is, well, what we usually do when we're out surfing is basically when we're at the beach, it's you just see a piece of plastic. There you just pick it up and bring it to the nearest trash
Exactly.
bin. Every little bit helps, as I'd like to say that, we're all ripples in that wave of change that
Wow.
we want to be, and you got to be that change that you want to see. So every little bit helps. So when
Pwede
you're
ka
at the
na nga
beach,
magdala ng bayong mo eh. Kasi you're bound to
yeah.
find
Exactly.
trash. So,
Yes.
bring a
Yun nga eh.
container and
actually there's
your
this
part.
one place I'd like to share, run by a good friend of mine also, who I've worked with also. They own a coffee shop in La Union called Clean Beach. They have fantastic food and
I've
coffee.
been there.
And what they do is, they have their own initiative also, is basically they have this, may mga bayong rin sila.
That you can borrow.
Yeah, you can borrow it. You go to the beach, you fill it up. When you get back, you get free iced tea or coffee or maybe a sandwich.
In
I can't
exchange
tell.
for your trash.
Yes, so there are a lot of ways that
Is this
you can
Camille?
do. Yes, Camille
Okay.
Pilar.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Harold.
Perfect.
Yes. Oo. Actually, yan, that's a good example of PAC
Yeah.
initiatives, diba? Na
Yeah.
something that the community and members of the community are doing to do their part.
So we're out of time.
Yes, we're out
but
of time.
thank you.
Gabs,
Thank you
for
also.
joining
Thank you.
us and sharing everything you do. And yan, yes, we kind of have to wrap up.
So please follow us on Twitter, Parabukas HQ, Facebook, and we're on live stream on 1PH. Our Instagram account is Parabukas. But for now, we're going to say goodbye.
Goodbye. And ano lang, no, parang, sorry, babanggitin ko lang na June is World Environment Month. So that's actually quite important, no, na, this show is about the environment. So this is the month that the world celebrates the environment. So please, kung meron na tayong ginagawa, let's do even more, even a little bit. Yun nga, every bit of trash or every small action helps. So, and as we saw in the episode, there's so many ways to become an activist and an advocate. So we encourage everyone to do their part.
Right. So next we have Kwentong Kutsara. So stay tuned on 1PH. And see you next week.
Yes, ako po ulit si Aya De Leon.
And ako si Joyce Roboca sa ngalan naman ni Niner Giao. Hello, Niner.
Hi, Niner. We miss you. And
She'll
yan na
be
po,
back next week.
She'll be back next week, yes. And yan ang kabuuan ng Tayo-Tayo ngayong Sabado, June 8, 2019. Samahan niyo po ulit kami next week for another episode of Tayo-Tayo.
Tayo-Tayo.